Hey guys, good evening. How are you doing? Great. It's been a quite long time since we have had a session, so we'll just quickly rewind what we've covered in the previous session. So we have tried to understand how Paint Bucket tool works, wherein we have tried to paint with the patterns, if you remember, selecting the option from the top. Let me just quickly open the Photoshop for you so that you might get a brief idea of what we have discussed. Yeah, here we go. Here is your gradient tool and the Paint Bucket tool. So selecting option from top as a pattern from foreground, we have tried to replace the color with the patterns. Then, as we have discussed, the main purpose of the Paint Bucket tool is to replace the background. I'm sure you remember this point. Then we have moved the text tool. We have tried to play it around the options that are there in the text tool. So the main fundamental part of the Photoshop is this particular text tool, and in this tool we have tried to cover all these four options, which is horizontal type tool, vertical type tool, horizontal type mask tool, and the vertical type mask tool. So there is nothing that you could do without this tool. So any post you make, any banner you make, any particular thing you make, you definitely need this text tool. So this is the fundamental part of the Photoshop. Do not forget to try out all these options. So whenever you want to type anything in a vertical manner, you use this vertical type tool, and whenever you want to give some effect to your text, you'll use this horizontal mask tool, and whenever you want to give effect to your vertical text, you'll use this vertical type mask tool. So then we have seen different options in this particular text tool, like font style, font size, then anti-aliasing, paragraph styling, font text styling, like arcs, lower arcs, squeezing the text, etc. Then we have just started with the pen tool. We have understand the basics of it, how do we use it, the importance of the control and shift keys, the path option, which is parallel to the layers option. So now in today's session, this is what we will try to understand. Here we go. So we'll try to learn more about the creation tool, which is pen tool. And under pen tool, we have these four options. I'll just read them for you. One is freedom pen tool, and another is point tool, adding anchor point tool, and third one is delete anchor point tool, and fourth one is convert point tool. And then we'll move on to the shape tools, the another tool of the Photoshop, and we have like more options under shape tool, starting with rectangular tool and then ending with custom shape tool. These are all the options. We'll just try to understand the basics of it. We'll then move to the selection tools. One is path selection tool and one is direct selection tools. Let me quickly open Photoshop for you all. Here we go. We'll start off with the pen tool. So I'm sure you've had some enough time to practice like whatever we have been doing in the classes. So please do that. Please do install Photoshop from adobe.com and then try to implement all the options that we are not covering in the sessions. That will, this will definitely help you give some hands-on on this application. So I'm just doing Control O, trying to open the same picture that we have worked on the other day to help you understand more about the creation tool. So this is my canvas, this is my image, which is in the background layer. I'm just trying to do Control Plus for you, which will help you zoom in the picture. And I'm going to my tools bar on the left. I'm clicking on the pen tool. Then I just want to edit this picture up. So in the previous session, we just tried to understand how this tool works basically. Now in today's session, we'll try to understand how to cut this particular image of a woman and change the background. So right now it is like beach background, right? So let's change something else. For that, I've just selected the pen tool. So this is how I'll just try to delete or probably select the areas around her. Just clearly observe the way that I'm doing. I'm just trying to cut out, you know, more inside the image so that I don't get some extra backgrounds. Before this, we'll just clearly understand how Alt key and Control key works. So whenever we do something by mistake and whenever we want to correct it, this Alt key will come into picture. It will use the Alt key to change the angle of the pointers. So whenever we click on the Alt key while editing a picture, the pointer changes upside down way, and we can break the angles using this Alt key. I'll definitely show you how. Let us also understand the a portion of Control key. So if we make any point outside the shape, and if you want to reposition the particular angle or a shape, so that is when we use this Control key. So if you want to adjust an existing point, that's when the Control key will come into picture. So let us try to edit this up. So I'm just trying, if you clearly observe, some portion of my background has come into the picture. So I don't want this background to be there in my cut picture. So that is when I'll use my Control key. I'll just press on it. See, my anchor changes to a pointer. When you clearly observe, right now my cursor is like holding a pen symbol. So whenever I click on the Control key, it changes to a pointer symbol. And if you see this, the extra background has been edited and the shape of my pointer has been changed. So that is when my Alt key will come into picture. So when I press my Alt key, my cursor right now it is in pen shape, and when I press my Alt key, it is changing into an upside V. So I'm just trying to reposition the pointer here. I'll just make sure that whatever I'm editing, whatever I'm cutting the picture, it is inside the background. So I've cut the extra background that I have selected, and then I've repositioned the angle, and then I have made my selection complete. Now from here, I'm just trying to put up a straight line. See, again, I have an extra background selected here. That's when my Control key will come into picture. I've selected this, so my shape has gone out. So again, my Alt key will come into picture. Here we go. Now, if you clearly observe, I'm just trying to select her, including the hat. So here, if I want to also select her hat, my positioning has come inside it. So I just want to also select this particular hat. Again, same procedure. So press and hold Alt key. Just move this a little bit up, and then try to select her hat also. Again, the same thing, it's going out of the shape. I'm just trying to put it out here. So this is how I'll select. So if you're like really confused, if you don't want all these angles and shapes to be there, press and hold the Alt key and complete your selection. You don't have to wait for anything else. Just make some pointers around her hat, around her hand. If you want some clear detailing to be there, just zoom into the picture more and just try to edit it up. That's it. You're all done. This is, see, again, my thing is gone out of the shape. I'll click on the pointer and then drag it down. Let's see, Control Z. Click here. Select everything up. So now, just because I have reached my starting point, so my cursor has a 0 symbol on it. If you observe here, I'll just click here to complete my path. So my path has been done. If you want, you can check out here. So your path is like visible in the paths section. So your layer section, it is still here. So you'll have to right click on this and then say make selection. As discussed, your feather radius should be as low as possible. So keep it 0 as it is, 0 pixels. Now you can say OK. So your selection has been made. So this is how you select your picture. If you go to your path section, your work path has the same selection that is there in your layers path. So this is done. So we have made a selection now. just because I want to put this picture in a different background, I'll put the selected image in a different layer. For that, all that I'll have to do is press Ctrl J. Ctrl J is used to put something into a new layer, whatever you select. If you want to put it into a new layer, that is when you say Ctrl J. So I'm just trying to hide my background. So when you click on this eye symbol, that is when you can actually hide your background. So when I click here, so my background is hid. So I can only see the picture of a female sitting in the beach. So now I can go and then change the background to whichever I would like. So here is the beach picture, and when I hide this, so here is when I can see only her picture. So if I want to go and then change the background, so I'll have to go to Unsplash. As discussed previously, Unsplash is one of the sites wherein you can download some royalty-free pictures. Yeah, it's loaded. So probably we will just take some nature background. Just for your reference, we'll try to take something which is kind of realistic. I think this will suit better. I'm just clicking on a particular image which I like. So a pop-up opens and then I just say download free. So particular image has been downloaded. When I just click on the arrow here, it would show me the folder wherein my image got downloaded. So I just say Control X. Control X means I'm just cutting the image from that particular folder. And then I'm trying to put up here. I'll just say rename it as nature. Yes, so it has become nature. Now I'll just close this and go back to my Photoshop. And just say open. So now it has come to this particular another file. So I'm sure you remember how to move a particular and different file to a same file as a layer. So I'll just click on this button. I'll just go to my move option. So it's basically locked. So I'll unlock it. It's layer 0. So it has been a layer now. I'll just try to go to my tool section, select the move tool, click on this particular. See, I have just put up the blue background here. So when I put the background below the selection, so it is considered as the background. So my selection is now in a perfect blue background. So I can create my canvas on this blue background. So if I want, I'll just put up this picture here as a new layer, and I'll just put this also. Somehow it is only coming up as a blue background. Anyways, probably you might just want to try out a different background. So I've just only put up a blue background. I'm just trying to open only this particular thing. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah. So I've hid all the layers that are there in my layer section. I've only opened the layer, which is like blue background, and then I have trying to open the layer that we have just selected. So my selected layer has come up in the blue background. So whatever color you would like to, or whatever background that you would like to put up, just download it from your computer or probably some royalty-free websites, and then you can play around with these canvas. So I'm just trying to hide all of this. Just trying to open the background image again. I'm just going to my tool section. I'm just trying to understand the freedom pen tool. So this basically the pen tool works in a straight line, right? So this freedom pen tool, the name itself indicates that you have a lot of freedom to select the picture. For an example, I also have a freedom to select the curved lines. So here my cursor indicates a small curved line beside this pen tool, right? So that means I can also select. So when I select the regular pen tool, it allows me to select the straight line, and 2 pointers help me to adjust the angles of it. My freedom pen tool will allow me to draw curves however I would like to. Just like, if you want to cut something using a scissor, so it's the same thing. So where I'll have a freedom to draw the lines. That's my image. So this is the pen tool. So I have drawn something using a free hand. So I don't have to, tune my pointers here. So I don't get something into the straight lines. I can use this freedom pen tool to cut whatever picture I would like to. So again, I'll say right click and then make selection, and then I'll say I have feather radius as 0, and then I can select this picture. So this is how this particular tool works. So I'll say Control D. Make selection. When something is selected, and when you want to deselect it, you will just say Control D. So you'll anyways have the work path out here. So whatever you would want to select it again, you can just go to path section, click on the work path, and whatever you have just selected, it will get selected again. So you can right click and then say make selection if you want to put this up in a new layer, or else you can just come here and then say Control. So with this, probably for this add anchor point tool and delete anchor point tool, we'll just try to understand these two in the next set of tools. I'll just delete this, and then probably we'll jump into the next set of tools, shape tools, which is rectangular tool. So the next set of tools that we just wanted to discuss is the shape tools. We have just selected the rectangular shape tool out here. So these are located way below the pen tool. But so pen tool is out here, and the next we have text tool, and we have selection tool, and then we have this shape tools. But they are really interrelated with each other. The pen tool and the shape tools are really interrelated with each other. I'll show you why. First, let me use a rectangular shape to make a simple rectangle on my canvas. For that, I'll just say Control N. Control N will help me put up a new white box out here. I'll just say rectangle tool, right click, select the rectangle tool, and then I'm just trying to put up a rectangle out here. Excuse me. Yep. So when I've just drawn a rectangle on my canvas using a rectangle tool, a few things have actually happened. So I have a shape layer in my layers panel. So this is my shape layer. So regular, whenever you put up a normal layer, so this is how you will see. But just because I have put up a shape beside my layer, I also have I'm also seeing a shape layer. So this indicates that we have put up a shape on this canvas. Okay, now let me just go to the path panel. So even in the parts panel, I have a rectangular shape. So it says, we have selected one vector mask. Just remember this word vector. We'll just try to understand more about it. Now, this pen tool and shape tool are very much, interrelated, and they are treated as the vector objects. Now we have just seen, like, even in the part tool, it's been displayed as the vector. So what is vector? So vector is basically an object in Photoshop. So there are different ways to display an object. Okay, it is an object, but still there are different ways in a Photoshop to display an object. And one way is raster graphics, and another way is vector graphics. Again, one way is raster graphics and another way is vector graphics. So raster graphics is made of pixels and are best for real-time photos. So vector graphics are basically mathematical calculations and are best for simple parts and lines, such as, probably logos. Whenever you're trying to create a logo, you'll just try to understand the dimensions of it, or probably you'll put up some lines, you'll put up some, parts, etc. Right? For that, your vector graphics are really useful. But when you're working with some real-time photographs, so that is when the raster graphics are like really helpful. There are basically some benefits as well as drawbacks for each of this raster graphics and then vector graphics. So that's why Photoshop, allows us to use both the options. So we have a privilege to use both the raster graphics or as well as the vector graphics. So we have just made a raster triangle out here, right? So whenever I'm selecting something, so it is basically a raster triangle. So let me show you how, we have just made a vector triangle. So let me just show you how raster triangle looks like. So for that, I'm just going to the layers panel. I'm just trying to click on particular layer, say create new layer. I'm just clicking here. So one layer is like created here. So now I'm just going to my rectangular marquee tool. Here, the second option in my tools panel, I'm just going to my rectangular marquee tool, and then I'm just trying to put up another rectangle. So this is my rectangle. I've just created this using the rectangular marquee tool. Before that, I've just tried to create a layer just to differentiate between my raster graphics and then vector graphics. So this is done. So I've created here. So this selection has been done. Now, just to fill this rectangle, I'm just going to edit, fill. I'll probably use some, let it be black. I'm just saying okay. So my rectangle is filled with the color black. Now, I can either go to edit and fill, or I can directly say Shift 5. Now my rectangle is filled with black color, and then I'm saying Control D to deselect it. Right now it is selected, right? So I see some dotted lines around my rectangle, so I want to deselect it right now. So I'll just say Control D. So things got deselected. So now I have two rectangles. So one is like this green one is a vector rectangle that I have created using my shape tool, rectangle tool, and this particular rectangle is a raster rectangle that I have created using the marquee tool, and then I've just filled the shape. Now we can either rename the layers. Let me rename this as a raster for us to clearly understand like what we are working with. And you can either rename this as vector, but that's okay, just because we have renamed this as raster. So other one would definitely be a vector layer or vector shape. So this is done. So now let's just find out the difference between these two. I'm just going back to my tools panel, and I'm just trying to select the eraser tool. Here we go. It's below the history brush tool. So I'm just trying to select the eraser tool. So it's just 8 pixels. I'm just trying to increase the size. So if you see, my eraser tool is like working as expected on my raster rectangle. So generally eraser tool will erase the background of the layer and it will replace its color, right? So it is actually working as usual. So the more we erase, the more pixels are getting destroyed from its original fill, which is like black color. So now with my eraser tool still enabled, I will select my vector layer and start erasing. So I'll just go here. I've just selected my vector layer out here and just trying to erase. If you can directly see that my cursor is giving me a null symbol. So basically that means it is not allowing me to erase something. Whereas when I go back to my raster layer, my cursor is changed to a small, zero cursor, which means that I'm trying to erase something from the background. When I again go back to my vector layer, my cursor is like changed to null symbol, and when I try to click here, it will give me a pop-up. Okay, now the pop-up says this shape layer must be rasterized before proceeding. It will no longer have a vector mask. Rasterize this shape. So either you can say OK or cancel. So this is basically because the rectangle is not made up of pixels. So my my vector rectangle is not made up of pixels that we can erase with the raster tool. So instead, vector requires you to alter the shape path with some vector tools. So now, for now, I'm just saying cancel. So give me a second. So this is the basic difference. Now, since raster graphics are comprised of pixels, they can serve like many applications which vector graphics cannot, and it is the other way around. Okay, vector graphics can serve many applications that raster graphics cannot. Like we've just said, they both have some advantages and disadvantages. Hence, Photoshop allows you to create your objects in either raster way or in a vector way. So, anyways, we'll delete both these layers and move on to the next shape tool. So, I just wanted you to understand the difference between the vector and raster. So we are just trying to do this. I'm just trying to delete the layers. I can either drag my layer to the dustbin button, or I can right click and then say delete layer. So both my layers have been deleted. I'm again back to my white background. I'll just go to the shape tool again, and then I'll select rounded rectangle tool. Just right clicked on the tools panel. I've gone to the rounded rectangle tool. So I'll just click and drag the canvas out here. So here we go. So another neat thing about vector shape Photoshop is we have control on all the properties. Rather, I can say we have like immense control on the properties. We have a lot of options on the top. So we have immense control on the properties, and we can play around with them. We can say we have a lot of buttons to play around. So radius is the only option which is like permitted for rounded rectangle tool. So which sets this particular radius option will set a rounded rectangle tool apart from the rectangle tool. This radius will control the curved lines of the edges of the rectangle. So if the radius is decreased, rectangle will develop some sharp edges. If you see, radius is just now 10 pixels. So the rectangle looks like a normal regular rectangle. But wherein we have this rounded rectangle enabled, but it doesn't look like that because the radius is like very low. So if you increase the layer, if you increase the radius, so the rectangle will appear more rounded. Let's just try it out by increasing 10 to 50. I'm just trying to increase this to 50 and then observe here. So if you clearly observe, when my radius used to be 10, So my rectangle was similar to a regular rectangle. So I've increased my radius to 50 pixels. Now my curved rectangle has appeared here. So the edges have become curved. It's the more you increase the radius, the more soft the edges would become. I have more tools out here on my top. So these tools are nothing but the options that I have for the shape tools. This ellipse, polygon, line, and custom. This is ellipse, polygon, line, and custom tools. We'll just try to understand what these are. So this is basically the radius. We have just seen this. And then we have some, different shape areas, subtract, add and inspect, everything. We'll just try to understand how these work. If I just select this and I'm just trying to put up two options out here, my color doesn't change. Whatever intersection is here, my color doesn't change. Wherein if I go here to this particular option on my top, and when I just try to put up two rectangles, no shape has come up. When I just try to go here, which is exclude overlap, and when I try to put up two rectangles out here, whichever section has been intersect, the color is like not shown here. So based on your requirement, you might just want to select the options that are there on the top. So for my first shape, my intersection point, the color has not been changed, and for this, the intersection point, the color has been changed. So you have again like different options here. I just want you to go through all these options. The main thing is the style option. Before that, we also have this color option. So I'm sure you guessed it right. So this is basically used to change the color of your rectangle. I can actually change this to some blackish. See, my rectangle color has been changed. So you can see whatever you have done in this particular history layer towards your right hand side. So to choose your color, this particular option is like helpful. And now comes the interesting option here, which is style. So you have some predefined styles out here. So whenever you have a white rectangle box cross-checked, so that means you have a default style. So whenever you try to pick up something, see your particular style will get changed. So this is how you'll get it. So you have more options. So I'm sure you've seen some of these so in your regular usage. This is again a bolded style. So this is again some other style we have. We have a lot of styles here. The best part of this particular style option is we have a small arrow out here, which will open a list of items that I can load to my style thing. For an example, I can also add some strokes to my particular rectangles. I'll say dotted strokes. I'll say append. So my dotted strokes have come up. I'll just say glass buttons. I'll say append. Few of my glass buttons might have come up. Here we go. I'll also try to append some other things. Image effects. I'll just say append. Few image effects have come up. So you have a lot of options here. So you can click here and then whichever one you like, you can pick them up and then you can say append, and these styles will come and sit in your styles panel. Last, we'll just try to append something else, probably image effects. No, let's not go there. I'll say DP styles, append. I don't think I've got something. Yeah, so these are the different things that are there on your top options. You can just play around with these styles and then just try to create some nice shapes that you would like to. So let's go to the, now because my canvas is really filled, I can actually delete them or just go back here. I can go to the rounded rectangle tool directly. It's a control alt set. Or probably we'll just try to put up some new canvas and just try to work on that. Here I have an ellipse tool. The name itself indicates that you can actually draw some ellipses using this particular tool. The options on the top are the quite same for all these, shape tools. So with this particular tool, you can create some, oval or round objects. Then I have polygon tool. I can create some polygon shape. I have an option to create some different shapes. I've put up so many layers. So clearly observe your layers panel out here. Previously, whenever we used to work on some raster images, the only layer that you could see a single line out here with the layer name and whatever effect is there, it never used to be showcased. Right now, when we are using this vector graphics, so whatever layer you have put up is coming up here, and then whatever effect that you're giving to your layer is also coming up here. You can actually delete this and then see how it looks. For an example, let's just take this recent polygon that we have drawn. The satin is the effect that we have selected from the styles. So if you disable it, the regular green shape, whatever color we have picked up, is like coming up. And then if you just close this up, and then just try to observe the change it is bringing in the canvas. I've just, disable the effect completely, so it is giving me a regular green shape. Now I'll just jump into this line tool. So one requirement most path and shapes in Photoshop have is that they will be in a closed loop or back to their original starting point, right? So whenever we are using all these tools, either they are like closed or they just come back to the starting point. So it has never been ended. It's a closed loop basically. So they never end. With this line tool, this will help you to draw a single line without looping back at all. So if you just want to draw a single line, you can select this particular line tool. I can either right click on the tools panel and then select this line tool, or I also have a privilege to go on the top options and select this line tool. So I can actually draw some lines. So I don't have to, it is not necessary that I'll have to close the loop, but I have a privilege to draw the shape or draw something which I would want to draw. Let's say I just want to draw a small line. I can do that. Weight describes the thickness of it. Let me put it as 10. And then draw something. So my particular line has become a bit thick. So I'll just put it as 50 and then see how it works. See, I have a solid line with the style filled with something that I've just selected. So I can create something. So probably if somebody wants to create some, cricket wickets, they can do this probably. So this line tool will help me create my own shape without looping in or coming back to my original or starting point. So this is the main advantage of this tool. And the options are actually quite similar to what we have seen for the previous shapes. Now let's go back to the tool options, right click here to bring out the flyout menu and then create on the custom shape tool. So every tool that is named out here, it could be rectangular or rounded rectangular or ellipse or polygon tool, they have this shape that is written here. So rectangle means it has a rectangular shape, ellipse means it has got elliptical shape, and line tool has got a line shape. But custom tool has got a different shape. When I select this, and when I click here, so it's giving me a different shape altogether, right? For this, probably we'll just try to understand in a neat canvas. So I'm just saying Control N. Control N will help me create another file, and then we'll just try to understand about this particular custom shape tool here. So I've created something here. So my shape is filled up with the style that I've previously selected. So this is a very, very special tool. So it has got some defined or pre-made custom shapes out here on the top options. This shape option is only enabled for my custom shape tool. So it is enabled right now. When I click here, I have a lot of options. So the beauty of this shape is that we can edit them just like any other path in the vector tool. I'll just show you how. Just give me a second. Okay. Now, because by default, this particular arrow is there in the shape tool. So whenever I clicked on this customer shape tool, so the arrow got displayed. If I want to click this, so here is my amoeba, or if I want a speech bubble, I can do this. As I Control Alt Z. Or if I want some lines, I can do this. Or if I want some other shape, probably some grass, I can do this. Pretty easy and pretty neat, right? You can fill up the inside by using your style option. You can select something and then fill it up. Now, the best option that I've just said is that you can edit these shapes just like some vector objects to select a path. Now this is a path, right? To select a path, I don't have to go to my path section again. I can actually go to the path selection tool. So this is one of my selection tools. So I'll just go here. Just above my shape tools, I have this path selection tool. I'll just right click on it and then I'll just say path selection tool. Or this keyboard shortcut for this path selection tool is A. We can use this particular path selection tool for selecting any path on the canvas. So I can actually use this tool to select anything. So I've actually selected this path. So when I've selected this path, you see that the anchor points are appearing on the edges, right? So this is how I can select something and then I can move. So I don't actually have to go to the path section. So after drawing my canvas or after drawing my shape, so if I want to select that particular shape or object, all that I'll have to do is go to the path selection tool, click on that particular path selection tool and then drag your image. So this is how it works. What if you just want to select one point and in the complete canvas? So that is when your direct selection tool will come into picture. So I can only select one point of it. See, previously my points used to be in a thick dotted shape. Now here it is there in a open rectangle shape. So this is how I can select a particular point and then I can actually drag it out. So basically said, I can change the shape of my canvas, how it used to look previously. I'm also entitled to use this anchor points and then change the shape of my particular image. So everything is like gone right now. My anchor points are not appearing. So when I click on the edges of my image or an object, my anchor points again appear back. So I can change the angle by dragging my anchor point. So if you see, I have 3 points altogether. One is my selection point and 2 are my angular points. So with these angular points, I'm able to drag the canvas and put it in a shape whichever I would want to. So now I've just clicked outside my particular shape, and now what if I want to select all the points? That's when the control key will come into picture. So I'm just pressing the control key and then I'm just trying to click on my particular object or shape. See, all the points have appeared. So I can now try to move my picture. So I can also use my control key when I want to select my complete object, and I can use the alt key and try to duplicate my object. So I'm just trying to press and hold on the alt key, and then I'm just trying to select in my object and just trying to duplicate it. So this is how I can duplicate my object. You don't have to create again, because whatever object you create, you have just used your direct selection tool. You have used the 2 anchor points that you have got, and then you have moved the angles, right? So again, you might not be able to create the same shape. So if you want to duplicate them, all that you will have to do is press and hold the alt key on your keyboard beside your space bar, and then click and drag your object. This is how you can actually duplicate your object that you have selected. So these are the only tools we use to manipulate the path. So these are the 2 tools we use to manipulate the path. So we'll just go to the pen tool again, add anchor point tool. I'm sure the name itself indicates that this particular tool will help you to add some anchor points to your particular image or an object. Just clicking on the direct select tool again. So I've just clicked on the direct select tool. I've tried to select some points. Then I'm just trying to drag. I've dragged something here. I'll just go back to my pen tool. I'll just say add anchor point tool, and then I'll just click here. So now, previously I used to have only 2 points in my entire line. Now just because I've selected the add anchor point tool, so now I have added 3 anchor points. Now if I want to bring in some curve shape out here, so that is when this tool comes into picture. This particular pen tool, add anchor point tool, you will be able to drag your canvas into the shape that you would want to. You can actually add some points to your particular object. Okay. Now you can also move the shape using the 2 anchor points. And then you will be able to move the canvas or the path of the object. Now, what if you don't want this particular point to be there in the tool? Now, so sorry for that. Yeah. Now, what if you don't want this particular point to be there in a straight line? So that is when your delete anchor point tool comes into picture. So again, you'll just have to go back to the tools panels, click on this delete anchor point tool, try to select it, and then click here. So whatever point that you have extra added it out here in this straight line has been deleted, right? So previously there used to be 2 points in the straight line. So we have selected the add anchor point tool, and then we have added the another anchor point in between. So now what if you want to delete it? All that you will have to do is go back to your pen tool, go to delete anchor point tool, and then just click there and try to delete that anchor point. So this is the basic use of the add anchor point tool and delete anchor point tools whenever you're working with the vector objects, and whenever you want to add points or delete points, that is when the pen tools options will come into picture. So if you want to delete any anchor points, I recommend you to use the delete anchor point tool. There are also other options wherein you can delete, but this is the best way that works good. So finally, I want to quickly show you some another path tool. So select the direct selection tool out here. I'm just going here, I'm saying direct selection tool. I'm just selecting one thing and then trying to drag out here. So the handle controls the curve. I'm just going back. So all these handles will either control the straight lines or curve. So I'm just saying, I'm going back to my tools panel, I'm going back to the pen tool, I'm going back to the convert point tool. So you can see the shape of how the cursor is like getting changed. So it is like right now a mark tool, and then I'm going to the point. So it's getting changed into the reverse V. You can see previously it used to be a straight line. Now we have changed it to a curved line. So the main functionality of this convert point tool is it will remove the handles and make the curved line into a straight line, and whatever is there in a straight line, it will try to convert in a curved line. It's the vice versa. Now I'm again selecting this convert point tool. I'm clicking here. So it just got converted into a straight line again. So as discussed, whatever is there in a straight line, it will convert into a curved line, and whatever is there in the curved line, it will get converted into a straight line. So now I'm just clicking and dragging on it. So I have an option with two angular points to change the curve, to change it into a curved shape. Now, what if I just click here? It is going back to the same straight shape. So that's it about the creation tools. If you have any doubt, please feel free to text in this forum. Okay, we'll just quickly understand like what we have discussed today. We have tried to understand like how to make selection using the pen tool. Then we have understand the freedom pen tool. Then we have gone to the shape tools. We have understand the rectangle tool. Before that, we have understand the difference between a raster image and the vector image, or rather raster graphics and vector graphics. Then we have understood the round rectangular tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, line tool, and custom shape tool. When we have tried to dig deep into the custom shape tool, then we have gone to this path selection tool and direct selection tool. And that's when we try to understand this anchor point tool and delete anchor point tool, and then convert anchor point tool. So with this, we are done with the creation tools and selection tools. And in tomorrow's class, we'll try to understand the final set of tools, which is like workspace tools. I hope you've understood like today's session, and then I'm sure you're going to practice whatever we have learned or whatever we have done in practical today. Great. A good day, guys. So see you tomorrow. Catch up later. Bye-bye.